afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Um, Hi, my name is Erica Piola. I'm the curator of graphic arts at the Library Company of Philadelphia, and I'm a newly minted Ephemera Society of America board member. And it's and I'm most pleased to introduce our next panelist, who is Mari Nakahara. Mari is curator of architecture, design, and engineering at the Library of Congress Prints and Photographs Division. Previously, she served as a specialist in the library's Asian division. She holds a PhD in architectural history and design from Tokyo Metropolitan University and an MLS from Catholic University of America. Mari is also an author of Crafting a Modern World, The Architecture and Design of Antonin and Naomi Raymond, as well as Cherry Blossoms, Sakura Collections from the Library of Congress. Her experience working in archives is vast and spurred her interest to be an archivist of architectural material. It includes not only the Library of Congress, but also the New York Public Library, the Skyscraper Museum, the Octagon, the Library of the American Institute of Architects, and the Museum of the American Architectural Foundation. And most recently, she has joined the board of the Ephemera Society of America as well, so another newly minted board member. And today, Mari will discuss travel ephemera that was collected by Roadside America photographer, architectural critic, and curator John Margolies in the collections of the Library of Congress. And On the Road, Travel Ephemera in the Margolies collection. Please help me welcome Mari.
Thank you, Erica, and hello, everyone. If you were last year here, I was a Beano Rice Lady, and today I am very honored to introduce another collection from the Library of Congress Prints and Photographs Division, which is John Margolies' collection, and especially John Margolies' Ephemera collection. So first, who is John Margolies? Oops. Okay. So this postcard is not John Margolies' ephemera. Somebody else made it, Maria. But this really characterized who John Margolies was. So he was born in New Canaan, Connecticut in 1940. And then starting from as a little child, he immediately developed an interest in roadside attractions, like neons, the signs, and everything. So his desire to stop such as attractions and these places was never accepted by the parents. Parents just keep going. But his adventure really started. So when he hit 16 years old and he could obtain his driver's license without parents, just traveling around many places. And educational background, he acquired a BA in journalism and art history at the University of Pennsylvania and enrolled at the Annenberg School of Communication. So he took a course with Gilbert Seldes, an academic champion in American popular culture, you click a little bit, and which was rare at the time. After he graduated, he worked as assistant editor of Architectural Record, the top architecture and design magazine since 1891, followed by program director of the Architectural League of New York. So a little bit of the architectural connection. In mid-1970s, he started exploring the photography of vernacular architecture and took extended road trips across the United States. In 1978, Margolies was awarded a Guggenheim Fellowship. And he also was supported by the Howard Gleaman Foundation, the National Endowment of Arts, and YS Endowment of American Art. In 2003, he was named Josephine Patterson Albright Fellow by the Alicia Patterson Foundation. Unfortunately, he died young. He died at the age of 76 in 2016. So I have never met him, but my predecessor met him and acquired this collection. So before getting into Margolies' ephemera collection, I would like to introduce his Roadside America project. It's one of the most comprehensive documentary studies of vernacular commercial structure along Main Street byways, and highways throughout the United States in the 20th century. Margolies travels more than 100,000 miles in search of unique and typical examples of roadside and main street architecture and design. This shows the Shell gas station in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the DAC, a gift shop which stands in Long Island in New York. When I was studying architecture, this was one of the things that I had to study. And Patsy the Whale for the mini golf course in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, which reminded me of the Holy Moly TV show. Margolies shot approximately 12,000 images in color slides for nearly 40 years between 1969 and 2008. His photographs held at the Library of Congress are in the public domain, so you can use it, while privacy and publicity rights and photographs of the sculpture or other works of art may be restricted by the copyright of the sculptor or artist. So finally, I will start introducing the Margolies Ephemera collection. Margolies Lloyd's America photo collection is accompanied with a large amount of the ephemera. The approximate total count of the ephemera collection is 3,600, stored in over 100 boxes. Medium varies as shown here. The scrapbooks, postcards, placemats, brochures, advertisements, maps, sheet music, prints, and etc. When I looked through the Margolies Ephemera collection, I'm honest, I was not able to look at 3,600, but I probably looked at 50 to 60% because we have an internal inventory. So all categories I actually pulled out and looked at them. And I started noticing that way that Margolies really considered travel ephemera is much broader than I expected. For instance, his travel ephemera also contains materials not directly related to travel or travelers, such as catalogs of furniture for hotels and motels, utensil catalogs for restaurants, stock cards and printing catalogs for stores to create signage. This really makes sense after all I went through them, since he was always looking at or for unique signage. After going through categories for the Margolies ephemera, I came up with are shown here. First, inspiration, planning, education, souvenirs, and memory, although sometimes items cross over these categories. So first category, inspiration. Even if we are not planning any travels, magazines and ads are always fun to look through and inspire destinations we may want to travel to in the future. The left is the cover of the Highway Travelers magazine from 1933. A bus running right off from the beach implies that there are beaches easily accessible by buses or cars. The item on the right is a Holiday Inn magazine from December 1964. Looking at people wearing half-sleeve dresses, I first thought that this photo was taken in the southern hemisphere. But wait a minute. The Holiday Inn is an American chain hotel, and no Holiday Inn hotels existed outside of the United States till 1980s. So this was 1964. So as a matter of fact, this is a photo of Santa Claus and his helpers greeting from his workshop at North Pole, Colorado, at the foot of Pike Peak. It's one of two fantasy lands where people can visit with Santa during all seasons of the year. So the other one is called Santa Claus Land in Evansville, Indiana. So both were features in this volume, and if you are a big fan of the Santa or Christmas, you probably started dreaming to visit these places. As you see here, Margolies' ephemera collection is often linking to his own photos. So Holiday Inn photo and the Holiday Inn magazine. So shopping is also one of the reasons people consider traveling or one of the entertainments during travels. I'm one of them. The ad in the middle from the 1929 Ladies' Home Journal celebrates the 50th anniversary of the Woolworth store. In 50 years, Woolworth expanded to 2,250 stores. On the verso of this page, they advertise special sale of the hairnet. And I do remember my mom, who is 93 right now, used to wear it on windy days. And this is a 50-page Chicago Marshall Field store book from 1933. This booklet includes views and facts of the retail store of Marshall Field and Company, including also brief references to the manufacturing, wholesale, converting, and importing interest of this worldwide organization. This beautifully designed store book was most likely created to celebrate the city's centennial and expand visitors' attraction who came from all over the world for the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. The travel brochures often stir up people's desire to travel and help them with planning. Yellowstone published two-fold brochures announcing their opening in June. Design motif was bears every year, and I particularly like this one, bears like, waking up from after the hibernation, stretching out. The guide on the right is a little over 30-page publication by Sandpaper in Baltimore, introducing many resorts and travel spots. As a significant component, the guide includes an index of the ads at the beginning. Graphic on the cover is very interesting to me. An office girl in early 1940s who was most likely not given any significant tasks or was bored with what she was working on is kind of dreaming of going on vacation during her work without noticing telephone is ringing badly. Her boss standing behind her is really annoyed or irritated by her attitude. Since next portion is planning, and since Margolies traveled on the road, there are many ephemera associated with trips by road. One of his extensive ephemera collection is the Greyhound bus brochures, as shown here. And itineraries related to the brochures are sometimes kept together. The one shown here is a trip from Muskegon, Michigan, leaving at 11 a.m., arriving in New York City at 4:15 p.m. next day. And then this round trip between Muskegon, Michigan and New York City back then, around 1935, cost $20.45. The item shown on the left is a letter from Chamber of Commerce in Roanoke, Virginia, providing advice to Mr. Mertz for his motor trip through Virginia in 1937. The item on the right is a handwritten document accounting about 200 stops, including points of interest, from Philadelphia, where Mr. Mertz lived, to Kentucky. Today, such information is easily found via the internet, and having the cell phone with you nowadays, travelers on the road could be more spontaneous rather than having concrete travel plans. I love this. Travel prep involves packing, right? And after returning from the trip, especially me probably, we are exhausted and barely take a close look at suitcases. And when we pull it out for the next trip, we sometimes encounter a surprise. For instance, nowadays, like, oh my God, one of the wheels is broken. What am I supposed to do? And you can nowadays get a new one delivered in a day via Amazon Prime, but it didn't work that way in old days. So the cover of the Sword luggage catalog illustrates many different types of the luggage, When I was little, I always liked the one for cosmetics, which my mom purchased while my parents were living in Chicago in 1960s and brought back to Tokyo. As a little child, I always enjoyed looking through this box in which like lipsticks or nail polish or other cosmetics were neatly lining in a sliding tray on the top of the carton. And looking into the small mirror on the back side of the lid, I was kind of pretending to be an adult and tracing my lip by my hand, the finger like this, and as if I were putting on lipstick. And as a matter of fact, the blue Samsonite set shown on the right in the Saturday Evening Post in 1960 is the exact one that my parents purchased and brought back. The item on the left is a booklet published by the Standard Oil Company called What is Good Gasoline? For road travelers to select appropriate gasoline for better performance. Since Margolies traveled by car, he paid lots of attention to gas. The item in the middle is a graphic chart showing process of gasoline production. And we have tons of the photos of the Margolies showing the gas stations or gas pumps. People get excited about traveling around even from the time of the packing. At the same time, travelers, especially beginners, build up some anxiety, which turn to be a lot of stress. So this book may be helpful for these people as it provides tips on trips. I was interested in the section called Travel with Children or Pets, since taking my own dog with us on the road trip involves lots of preparation every time. This booklet warns that the owner may have to give the dog to the bellboy to keep in the storeroom or basement of the hotel. And at the motor courts or motels, the dog may be easily stay in the garage at night. Ooh, well, I don't like these options. So no doubt that pet-allowed hotels are popular nowadays. And then, kids. Kids are another factor to often make our travel more difficult. And what would be the good to make them calm? Games, yes. Games are often designed to require concentration, which makes kids quiet or prevents them from getting bored. I like this naming of the game, Scrum, like a leave and then go away from the place quickly. This game, called Happy Highways, was distributed to promote stackies. If you get it on the road, it becomes easily a souvenir, right? And starting at home, following the happy highway, the goal is to be the first to reach the lake resort at the shore of Lucky Lake. On the way, you pass falling rocks, shortcut, funny forest, dusty town, Camp Gichiguchi, Moon Mountain, and of course, 3 stackies. Good promotion. So, third section, education. The items shown in the next few slides are, I consider, educational materials related to US geography. So before heading out to trips, kids should acquire good geographical sense. This is a US inlay puzzle published in 1950s and 60s. Along the top and bottom borders, abbreviations of each state and state capital are written. Graphics shown in each state features their industry and produce. Kids will build up knowledge on geographical relationship of each state and may develop their interest and understanding of the area they visit. This item is another example to learn the state. Patiently connect the dots, acquaint children with the relative size and contour of 48 states. Each page includes capital of the state, important geographical information such as rivers, surrounding seas, and the nearby lakes and the featured industries. It's interesting to see, I live in Maryland, so I looked at the Maryland state, and it's really interesting to see how east side and the center of the state of Maryland connects with very narrow neck, and state stretches out to the west. I was not aware of that. So this Bowell, titled United States Chart of Knowledge, is designed for a little bit older age group than the two items shown before. Each state is shaded a different color, allowing for easy identification. The name of the state are also present along the edge of the disk. As the central disk spins, information about each of the state appears in the windows cut into the disk, such as when it became a state, the population of the capital and the principal city, mining and manufacturing products, and more. Souvenir. Finally, we start traveling. Finally, we reach the traveling. Dining at a high-end restaurant make your travel special, for sure. This is a menu for the third room at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. As shown on the cover, high ceiling with red drape in the tall windows, a round table covered with a white tablecloth without any stains, and flowers as a centerpiece, and the shiny wine glasses and the utensils. Yeah, it makes me feel very special, right? And as the menu on the right shows the date of November 1940, menus are printed every day with specials. My favorite old-fashioned strawberry shortcake was 60 cents back then. Then a dollar in 1940 is worth of $21.37 now. So it's about $13 now if you have to pay. Not many people can afford meals at the high-end restaurants every day or may not want to do that. So kids most likely prefer the type of the food served at like a place big boy. And the chain restaurant is best known for its trademark chubby boy with pompadour hairstyle, wearing red and white checkerboard overall, holding the double-decker cheeseburger. So this trademark has been changing, as you see in the second from the left. Looking at that chart shown in the middle, the menu was used between 1969 and 1981. While the high-end Waldorf Astoria Hotel menu was printed every day, this menu is laminated to be resistant to food stain, fingerprints, and spills. So I did not grow up in this country. So when I found this menu in the Margolies collection, I asked my husband, who is American, if drive-in restaurant is equivalent to the current drive-through restaurant. It seems slightly different. So while we most likely keep driving if we get food at the drive-through restaurant, we stop and eat in a parking lot at the drive-in restaurant. As the middle photo caption says, waitress might have brought food on roller skates, and as the right photo shows, the food tray was sticking out from the car, and it's a little bit weird to me. And after we ate greasy hamburgers or sticky ice cream sundae at the drive-in theater, we need to wash up, right? So this soap and towels kit seems to be very handy for many cases, which equivalent to the current wet wipes or sanitized wipes, I think. If you are good at planning, you would probably get this kind of kit prior to the travel, but rather than running into the CVS or somewhere to get it. Or you need napkins. The item on the left called Mapkin is a napkin on which a road map with lodging and dining information imprinted. They sold at 25 cents each. And the maps are also often printed on the placemat, so you can grab it and go. Somebody talked about the matchbooks, and Margolies' collection also include many of the matchbooks of stores, entertainment places such as bowling alleys, restaurants, cafes, and bars, and casinos. And our collection includes real matches on it. This is interesting. So when you find a good restaurant during the travel, you must want to kind of spread the word to your friends for their future travels. This menu from 1944 is of the restaurant Mike's Ship Ahoy, located in New York City's really premium location of Broadway, you can guess, Broadway, Columbus Avenue, and 66th Street. There is a triangle area. It's a very premium location nowadays. And if you addressed it, they mailed it for you to anybody you wanted. So good advertisement for the restaurant. And taking a peek of the menu, I'm always looking at the food. Seafood platter with crab meat, shrimps, half-cold lobster, and lettuce cost $1.50. So that's 1944. And equivalent to $25.50 nowadays. So for your reference, at the Seagull Food Restaurant, a legal seafood restaurant, nowadays charges $27.95 for the fisherman's platter with shrimp, scallops, calamari, clams, and whitefish. So probably it's a good deal. What kind of souvenir shall we bring back to the family, friends, or colleagues? I came from Japan, so it's always like a gift. When my mom comes to the US, first day, what she's doing is getting the gift. Mom, you'll be here 10 days, and no gift. Okay, so candy must be one of the most popular goodies. And after enjoying the candies, in such boxes will, with beautiful illustrations, can be used for other purposes, so good gift. And even though you don't purchase the candies as a gift, people often send postcards to family and friends. This is a famous scene of the Empire State Building sent to the family on July 17 of 1939. I found this postcard in the scrapbook. It was inserted, not pasted, between the pages for New York City section. And I guess the traveler collected this postcard back from the family and inserted, oh my God, afterwards. Well, I will follow Mike. Other contents on the scrapbook verify that she visited the World's Fair held in New York City in 1939. And travel is not only for the fun occasions. Hope to be fun, but not always. It could be for a funeral. And this trifold handheld fan is from Boyd Funeral Home, Salem, Kentucky. The patent number is written on the verso. Searching the patent info, this patent is not only for the trifold, but also regulates the wavy shape of the fan. Trip may involve formal occasions such as funerals, weddings, or job interviews, or when I was on an extensive length of the trip, I often had a tough time to find a local hair salon. No appointment necessarily written on the ad is really a plus, especially for travelers. It also said, free popular olive oil shampoo with any permanent if you mention this ad. And anything you grab or purchase can become a travel ephemera and a souvenir. And shown here are a beautiful illustrated theater brochure, a unique shell scrapbook, and a tourism photo when you take a boat trip, something like that. Memory. Once you return from the trips, you started assembling what you collected during trips or writing memories, right? So this scrapbook titles Off to Glorious California, our trip to West Coast via the Golden State Route, March 8th through the 21st, 1941. So there are multiple pages with ephemera collected at a restaurant called Melody Lane. The script in the page before says, "Our dinner that night we had at Melody Lane, here for souvenirs. We received a large menu, wine list, and a big pig face, which given to the children, and has children's menu on the back." So this big pig face is a mask for children to play with. So the big neon sign, not the pig, big neon sign to the Melody Lane restaurant must have caught their eyes, and pigs were eventually the motif of the Melody Lane, as you see in the ads on the right bottom. And what I saw in other scrapbook includes leaves, photos, clippings, and sometimes ice cream wrappers. And these are nothing special if you have them in our regular lives, but they become special during the trips. This scrapbook is slightly different. Rather than for the specific trips, somebody assembled his or her ephemera related to architecture, because my major is architecture, caught my eye, by location. So these open pages show postcards that create a meticulously trimmed white border at the bottom and some portion of the border next to the title, and paste it down. And other pages of these scrapbooks like this. So everything is related to architecture. Great resource, because some of the years we only have black and white photos, but same scene as shown in color. Sheet music is also part of the Margolies Travel Ephemera collection. This song, "In My Hometown," describes the story of the traveler who visited big towns, comparing them with his hometown. Travel is fun, but when we get back home, we often feel our house, our town is the best, comforting and relaxing. As you have seen, Margolies Travel Ephemera is broad and diverse. I found graphics for the travel ephemera quite attractive. Travel ephemera serves as good resources to learn history, culture, economics, such as inflation, technology changes, and more. And I have to show this. I am almost done. So here. So this is a website seen before, is the story map of the Margolies Roadside America project. And this is a map section, and if you visit the map section, you see photos. So, and so this is only one, some of the spots has 40 photos, some of them like only one. So you can enjoy and just travel around going through this. So as a matter of fact, Margolies photo can be ephemera in the future or even now. Would you like to trace the routes Margolies drove through? Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You honored John's collection, and I'd just like to take 1 minute to tell you about John. John was a longtime member of our society, a beloved member, and Barbara and I,
Just give me a second. Is microphone on?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Can everybody hear me? John was a long.
Yeah.
Thank you. John was a longtime and beloved member of our society, and we remember him coming to this room for years, consecutive years, and each time coming and giving us a slide presentation on his travels. And I just remember a couple of them. One was gas stations, and one was restaurants, and one was diners and tourist attractions and theme parks and different highway signs and monuments. And I remember the most poignant story I can tell you, that he traveled X hundred miles after taking a picture I think of the first Howard Johnson's or something like that, and then the picture didn't come out. So he drove back to 200 miles the next day in the dark to be there at first light so he could take that picture. And so, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much for telling me that. I learned actually yesterday he had spoken at the Ephemera Society, and I was like turning pale. What am I supposed to say? But this is Ephemera, and his Roadside America collection is wonderful. And we made an effort because looking at single image, sometimes people cannot, especially like me, coming from Japan and not know that much geography or background culture, just becomes one scene. Okay, I understand, but connect the dots, and then I actually traced, because sometimes the Ephemera Society wanted me to do Route 66 ephemera, and I tried, and nobody told me, but that was something I heard. Then I tried, and then I looked at all of the Route 66 photos by myself, and then tried to dig out something related to ephemera collection, but again, I confess that it was not possible for me from the 3,600 items without having the concrete finding aid. We only have this collection as unprocessed. So as I said, like a 50% was the max for me to be able to see, and I was not able to connect the real relationship. So best I could do is creating a story and find a photo associated with that ephemera. So, but thank you for telling me.
Your map was brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, this map that was not created by me, story map, that library tries to make the story use the collections. So some of the things that we are making is totally unrelated for the travel, but we have a huge amount of the COVID-19 photos that Camilo Vergara took in various cities. So we are trying to make that geographical information then connect to the photo, and then how the timeline changed, and then how the scene changed, how people changed. Now we are not wearing the masks. Probably a year or two ago, everybody was wearing the masks, or how store closed, the signage changed, and then these things. So we are making the effort to do that. No questions, right? I can leave earlier.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that presentation, and
Thank you.
it just sparked so many ideas, and you made so many connections. It's unbelievable how many roadside ephemera, how many categories it connects to.
Thank you.
So thank you for bringing that together visually.
We probably have more and more things and the categories that he really has books too, like travel books, guide books, but I didn't choose it. It's more like more books are not in my mind, not really the ephemera, so that's why I didn't select them. But his collection has more and more interesting things in it. Thank you so much.